Hello and welcome to Hoofball, your brand new footballing community here on YouTube. This week we've seen some amazing football take place in the Champions League. We've seen Chelsea last night get battered by Real Madrid, and ultimately it looks like their tie is over with. A lot of people are saying that Chelsea could come back at Stamford Bridge and get something, but in my opinion, I think it's all done really, if I'm honest. The red card to Chilwell probably, it should have been more than 2-0 last night. However, the big story this week is all about Bayern Munich and Manchester City and how Manchester City turned over Bayern Munich this week. It was a really impressive game of football from the English side. And I personally expected Bayern Munich to offer a little bit more. Size-wise, the Manchester City squad just looked a lot bigger and they looked more up for it at the end of the day. And if I'm honest, Thomas Tuchel's side were quite disappointing, if I'm honest. But the big story that's come out of the match this week isn't how amazing players like John Stones were that day, players like Haaland, how great he was. It's all been dominated by an ex-Liverpool player who allegedly punched an ex-Manchester City player. I'm talking about Sadio Mane, allegedly in the dressing room punching Leroy Sane. It's been a crazy week for football this week. We've seen lots of different stuff happen. For example, today the Premier League have just announced that betting sponsors will not be allowed on the shirts. Apparently 18 of the 20 Premier League teams voted for it. But what has gone wrong with Sadio Mane this season? It was a sort of strange decision when he decided to leave Liverpool. As an outsider, I don't watch all the Liverpool games. I'm a fan of Klopp's football. I think they've been fantastic over the last few years. But Sadio Mane, for me, when he came to Liverpool, he was a rough diamond at Southampton. When he was playing for the Saints down on the South Coast, he was good. Don't get me wrong, he was a good player. There was a few games I remember. I think they may have played Liverpool and he may have turned them over and been brilliant. But there were a few games where he was phenomenal. But it was very hit and miss. But then when he came to Liverpool and played under Jurgen Klopp, he became an absolute world beater and arguably one of the best strikers in the whole of the world. But the thing with Sadio Mane for me this season is his decision to move to Bayern Munich was a very strange one. And it's obviously impacted Liverpool's season massively. Liverpool this season, you would have tipped them to go far and close to the title like they did last season. But without Sadio Mane, they look a completely different squad and they look bereft of ideas at times going forward. And especially not having him running around, has sort of impacted the midfield, I would guess, at Liverpool as well. Because the Liverpool side obviously looks jaded. Some would say that Mane's decision to leave Liverpool for Bayern Munich was obviously a good one, based on where Liverpool are now. However, for me, it's a very strange decision. He obviously wanted to go and play under the manager at the time, Nagelsmann, but it's not worked out for him at all. He has had a stint out injured this season, where I think he had surgery as well at one point. But for me, the incident involving Sadio Mane and Leroy Sane has really tarnished the game that we saw on Tuesday night. I don't really know too much of what's happened, but obviously they came back into the dressing room and they weren't happy with the result and they weren't happy with the performance. And they've only really got themselves to blame. For me, the centre-backs for Bayern Munich had an absolute nightmare. Jan Sommer made a couple of fantastic saves, but then again, he looked iffy with his distribution, and especially with the ball at his feet. But what would have happened is Mane and Sane would have come into the dressing room and had a bust-up, and apparently, in that, Sadio Mane punched Leroy Sane in the face, and Leroy Sane has got a fat lip or something like that. Now, Bayern Munich this evening have just released a statement saying that Sadio Mane will not be playing against Hoffenheim this weekend because of his actions involving the punch. And he said also he will be fined for that incident. It's not the first time we've seen ill discipline in football. For example, I remember seasons and seasons and seasons ago, that classic at St James's Park where Kieran Dyer and Bowyer went for each other, two teammates scrapping on the pitch, and they both got red cards. In the heat of battle and in the heat of the game, I think it's reasonable to suggest that, especially when you've lost 3-0 heavily in the Champions League, it's high-stakes football. I think it's reasonable to suggest that these things would happen. it only takes one comment for someone to fly off the handle. And footballers, they do care ultimately. They care about the game, and they care about winning. And also, I do believe that they care about the fans. And this high pressure environment, I think, is where the incidents flared up from. Some people online have been saying that Sadio Mane is a poor loser or a sore loser. But ultimately, it's frustrations with probably his role in the squad. It was a very poor game for Bayern. But do I think the tie's over? Well, they've got to go to the Allianz Arena this week coming. And I think, obviously if it's 1 or 2-0 on aggregate, I think there'd be a lot to play for. But 3-0 against the Manchester City side, it's hard to come back from that, regardless of who you are. I think even Real Madrid would struggle at times with that. But yeah, it's a strange situation regarding Sadio Mane, because as fans of English football, we never really saw that side of him in England. But things probably haven't worked out for him in Germany. And it's probably frustrated with obviously his role in the squad, and obviously what's happened at Bayern over the last few weeks with the manager being fired as well. I just thought it'd be a good video to comment on this. It's a very interesting and fluid situation, but I imagine it's probably now been dealt with. And who knows, will we see Sadio Mane play in a Bayern Munich shirt ever again? I don't know. He may come back in the transfer window to England or wherever. As always, thank you for watching Hoofball, and as always, have a great day, and make sure to click subscribe down below. For daily football videos, it really does help. Have a lovely day. Thank you.